ever since he's here, we're having like crazy conversations, and I feel like we are on the cusp of having a breakthrough insight about, like frequency is a topic in physics that is very well defined. It's just like the frequency of a sine curve is a number, right? But if you go into the more esoteric space, everyone is talking about frequency.
Yeah.
But they're obviously not talking about a number. They're talking about something that's more archetypal, and they're using it differently. But there's also there is some connection to physics. I know that, but I don't still haven't figured it out yet how exactly. But the Galahad Eridana stuff that you so kindly sent to me, Lawrence, there's this video about the logos,
Hmm.
and he's showing all these typefaces for the letter A.
Mm.
Like all these things, they don't really have anything in common if you just look at them like reductionistic, but nevertheless, they're all the same thing. And then he's like showing that the rules are not clear. And the insight came to me like it's something about the frequency of that thing, but in the more esoteric sense. But
That
there's still the bridge missing, like what that actually means, because I think it's mappable. I think there is
it
a
is. It is. And I think it's related to, for example, the what is it, those molecular crystallography?
uh
Yeah. Um, X-ray crystallography. No, there's no, orbital fields.
hmm
So here we go, atomic orbitals. So this is, so I think that this is more what people are talking about when they're talking about frequencies. It's not like one particular wave, but it's more like a field, but it's a very specific field. And then
Yes.
symbols, like if you look at that image, um, I should have sent you in. Let me see. Is there not a larger version of this? Yeah,
That's
here we go. This is a
But
better.
it's also good enough. I see it.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
recognize it from the dark days of university.
Yeah. Wait, if you compare that to those symbols,
Yeah. hmm
so the symbols are encoding something similar.
Yeah. And like geometry and frequency, there is some mapping there. And I am in the process of digging down into the myth behind Nikola Tesla because it's popping up all the time. And
Yeah.
he's like, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Mm.
And the guy basically is like the greatest genius ever when it comes to inventions. And then apparently his all ever like the greatest invention that he was claiming, people were then dismissing him as no, he was getting out of his mind. Like this whatever he was with the planetary power plant and stuff like that. But he definitely has ways of looking at the world that are uh, methodically beaten out of you when you go into university. Uh,
Mm.
and like there's mimetic punishment for having these thoughts.
Hmm.
But I think it's a way of viewing the world that is insanely powerful. And yeah, I'm exploring. There's some fringe stuff that is very hard to take seriously when you went through physics training in university,
Yeah.
but people are doing stuff with it that seems to work, and I want to bridge these worlds. And I think adding the internal angles of geometry is something that has to do with the frequency. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's more than a linear spectrum. It's not about
Yeah.
hertz. It's
Yeah.
about some multidimensional understanding of archetypal frequencies, something like.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
what was coming up for me is that I think I don't know how much this resonates with you guys, but like I've often thought about how, we build up these mental models, right? As we go through life experiences and we associate those with different language and stuff. And so like when I say the word God, that has a whole complex of mental models associated with it. I speak to, a devout Christian or something, and they say the word God, they'll also have a model, but it might be slightly different. And like if you picture both of those models, like they could be more or less in resonance with each other in the sense of like how similar the shape of that model is.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes think about that when people talk about frequencies and being aligned in terms of frequencies. Like maybe it's not just mental models, maybe it's also kind of like the state of mind that you're in as well. But it's definitely something to do with that there's like you can be in resonance or out of resonance in terms of how you're seeing that, whatever it is that you're discussing.
I mean, what you're describing is how I relate to location in the noosphere. Um, and we had this conversation at Playdrive, right? Like this channeling that I was sharing, this crazy stuff, where they talk about there's space time, and if you start with space time first, things happen in space, and then there's like the separate self, and like this whole world relative plane. If you think that is fundamental and everything else is an epiphenomena, I think you will miss frequency and stuff like that. But they talk that there's this other side, the yin to that yang, which is time space. And I think that is the noosphere. I think that is the esoteric dimension. And I think it's around, like it's bigger than the exoteric, the space type stuff. But yeah, so like that resonates. And I think it's more fundamental. The resonance of ideas, of the idea space might be, I think it is more fundamental than things in space.